Hi, welcome to my first video on number line, right? I'll create several more videos for number line, but for this one today it's basically gonna help us in terms of adding and subtracting integers using the number line, right? So a lot of students are having difficulties when it comes down to adding or subtracting numbers, especially when it comes down to negative and positive numbers. Most of them are comfortable with something like 5 minus 2, right, which would give you 3. But whenever they see something like this, 2 minus 5, they tend to get confused, and because it involves 2 and 5, they still write 3, which is actually incorrect, right? So this video will basically teach you how to properly evaluate these numbers despite of the form that they are given in. So let's look at the number line a bit. So this says a number line can be defined as a straight line with numbers placed at equal intervals or segments along its length. Alright, so it's described as a line, the horizontal line, as I can see, with numbers, are these numbers, but these numbers are not just placed on the number line, they are actually at equal intervals, which means the space between each two numbers are actually the same everywhere. So if you have 1 meter here, you also have 1 meter right here, 1 meter here, and so on. So the space between the numbers are actually the same, so they are of equal intervals. Let me get back that page. Right, so this will actually help us to understand better how to calculate values using the number line. And if you can notice for this one, in the middle of the number line we have 0. So 0 is at the center, right? So 0 falls right in the middle right here. And on the right hand side over this part, we actually have positive numbers. These are positive numbers. And if you look to the left hand side of 0, let's say left hand side, there are negative numbers, because negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Right, so I want you to pay close attention to the different variations of number on the number line. Now let's move on to how we would actually draw a number line, right? Instead of just pulling one from the internet, let me show you how you would go about drawing one of them to use. Alright, so I pull out my ruler right here. First thing I did. Alright, so if you get a number line to draw in class, then you shouldn't have a problem. And I'm gonna first draw a straight line. Let me stop this line right here. And it's stated that the numbers are equal distances apart. So let me have this. Let me put my first mark right here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Oops. Alright, so I'm actually placing the points that I will have my numbers on the number line. So please, when you're drawing the number line, ensure that you use a ruler so that you don't have the numbers all over the place. Alright, so I think that is fine. Let me just highlight these now. Alright, so this is how we draw our number line. and put our arrows, because that line continues in both directions indefinitely. So on the middle of our number line we have 0, right? So let's put our 0 in right here. Let's use this as the center, 0. And on the right hand side we have positive numbers starting from 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, go straight up. So let's put that in our number line now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'll actually choose the amount of numbers that you have on it, but ensure that it covers the number that you have in the operation. And if you look on the left hand side now of 0, we still start from -1. So -1, 2, -2, -3, and -4. So we put those in. So -1, -2, -3, -4. Draw that a little better. -4, -5, and -6. Right, so we are well on our way now. So remember that 0 falls in the center of the number line. Right here we have our 0. Over the right hand side, RHS, we have positive numbers. Positive numbers over the right hand side. And on the left hand side, LHS, we have negative numbers. So please bear that in mind. Alright, so you can rewind the video and go back over the steps that we use to fully understand. Alright, let's move on to what you're basically here to do now. When it comes on to adding and subtracting numbers on a number line, you can't just go straight and identify anything you want to identify in terms of number and just carry out any operation. You have to do it in a specific way. So for example, for this one, number 1, 2 plus 5. Right, normally when you hear 2 plus 5, we just normally carry out the regular operation. Just add 2 to 5 and we get 7. But how do we get 7 if we're going to use the number line? Alright, you have two numbers here. Right, you have 2 and you have 5, and we're adding. So when you're adding on the number line, whenever you add, you count to the right side of the number line, and whenever you subtract, you count to the left side of the number line. So we're gonna do some examples now. So the first number here is 2, right? If you look at this is the center right here where you have 0. You're gonna identify 2. It's not a positive, it's not a negative 2, it's a positive 2. A lot of times students kind of mix up negative 2 and positive 2, -3 and positive 3, etc. So we have a positive 2 here. So we first identify our positive 2, which is right there. Right? And based on what this is saying, whenever you add, you go to the right. So we're going to count to the right. But how many places do we count to the right? So we have 2 plus 5. So the 5 tells us how many places we count to the right. So you're going to start from 2 right here. So you're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how we actually got our 7, by using the number line. Right? So let's move on to the next example now. So first number we have here is -3. -3. Right? First thing we're going to do is identify -3, which is right here. Now after you identify your negative 3 now, look at the operation that you have. So we are actually adding 2. So negative 3 plus 2. So we are adding 2. Which direction you go to whenever you're adding? We go to the right side. So you're going to start from negative 3 now. And we're adding 2. 1, 2. Which lands us on negative 1. So negative 3 plus 2 is actually negative 1. So it doesn't matter which number you get, just identify the number first on the number line and then you carry out the proper operation. Alright, so here our first number is negative 2. It's not just a 2, it's a negative 2. First number is negative 2. So you're going to identify negative 2, which is right here on the number line. And our operation is actually a subtraction operation. So whenever we are subtracting, if you look back at this, we count to the left in this direction. So negative 2 minus 4, start at the negative 2, count 4 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that lands us on negative 6. So negative 2 minus 4 is actually negative 6. Right? And it's best when you practice first with the number line, and after a few examples you should be well on your way to understanding how to add and subtract negative and positive numbers. Let's move on to number 3 now. Our first number is negative 4 right here. Not positive 4, negative 4. First we identify negative 4 on the number line. Negative 4. And we are going to add 4. Which direction you count to whenever you're adding? We count to the right. So add, we count to the right. So you're on negative 4. So you're going to add 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Which brings us to 0. So your circle is 0. So in fact, negative 4 plus 4 is equal to 0. Right? The result that you get might seem a bit strange at times, but once you follow the operation correctly, then you should be fine. Alright, so moving on to number 4 now, where we have 5 minus 7. First thing we do, identify your 5. This is a positive 5 now, so you look to the right side of 0. Identify your 5. First thing you do, identify your 5. Then you look at the operation. What are you doing? You're subtracting. We are subtracting 7. So whenever you're subtracting, you count to the left on the number line. So if you should put your pencil or your pen here at 5, you're gonna count 7 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which brings us to negative 2. So 5 minus 7 is equal to negative 2. And as I said, the answers might seem a bit off sometimes, but once you carry out the operation correctly, you should be okay. So just a little short recap. Whenever you are looking on the number line, 0 falls right in the center on the number line. 0. And on the right hand side of 0, you have positive integers, integers. And on the left hand side you have negative integers, right? And drawing the number line, you actually need your straight line, and then each number should be equal distances apart. So between the negative 6 and the negative 5 should be the same distance as the distance between negative 4 and negative 3, and so on. So the space between the numbers should be the same right across the number line.